The process was simple. There should be 5 of everything everywhere, which was really just a weird way for Mr. Charles to keep the store looking neat and organized, and also an easy way for him to know if people were stealing from him. So, for instance, in the fridge, there should be 5 of every soda, 5 of every juice. On the cereal shelf, there needed to be 5 of every kind of cereal, even the nasty ones that taste like dirt until you put sugar on it. Same went for chips and cookies. So, my job was to look around the store and let Mr. Charles know what was missing. We need 2 orange juices, I said, thumbing through the juices like I was looking for a shirt in the coldest closet ever. Mr. Charles, as usual, didn't hear me. I looked over. He was reading another piece of paper. This time, it was one that he pulled from a box. I think it was like a receipt or something to tell him what he was supposed to have in each carton. He never even looked up, didn't hear me at all. Dang, I wonder what it must be like to be hard of hearing. I bet gunshots sound like knocks on the door, which is a scary thought. Sheesh. Anyway, I repeated myself louder. Mr. Charles! And this time he looked up. We need 2 orange juices. Mr. Charles nodded, pulled 2 from a box, and handed them to me. Of course, while we were doing all of this, I kept an eye on my backpack. I had set it down in a corner at the back of the store. Every time we restocked some cookies or some dishwashing liquid, I would double check to make sure it was still there and my sweet silver babies were still safe. After the counting and restocking was done, Mr. Charles asked me to move all the leftovers into the stockroom. No problem, I said, struggling to get a grip on the sides of one of the bigger cardboard boxes. Is there any order you want me to put them in? Nope, Mr. Charles said, now wiping down the counter. Just stack it all up toward the back so I can get there and move around, that's all. One by one, I picked up boxes of ramen noodles, 6 packs of beer, cases of Worcestershire sauce, Worcestershire, ugh, it's gotta be the world record for hardest word, and moved them into the stockroom. Mr. Charles seemed to have relaxed and was now standing behind the counter, staring at his old TV again. This made me feel kind of good, like I was doing something to help the old man out. I mean, he'd always been so cool to me, such a good dude, so it felt nice to be able to do something for him. Plus, he was getting up there in age. He even had that weird flappy turkey neck thing going on. So lifting these boxes was probably getting pretty hard for him. The 6th, or was it 7th, box was the heaviest. It was filled with gallons of water, which was crazy because it just doesn't seem like water should be that heavy. I mean, it's clear, like air, and air don't weigh nothing. I couldn't even really lift that box. I just kind of held my arms straight and did the caveman walk to the stockroom, bumping into everything, including the stockroom door, hoping I'd make it there before my shoulders popped out of the sockets. The door closed behind me. I dropped the box and used my feet to slide it across the room over to the other boxes. And then I stopped and, for the first time, had a look around. I can't tell you that I remember anything about what the stockroom looked like when me and my mom hid in it, but I know we were in the corner. A corner where there was now a coat rack. I remember that me and Ma huddled right there up against the wall, her holding me by the face, her hands covering my ears. Now, when I think about it, I think she did that so I wouldn't hear her crying or breathing hard, even though I could feel her chest rising and falling at the exact same pace of my own thumping heart. But I don't remember there being any boxes. I don't remember the desk and file drawers, the clock on the wall, or the $5 bill hanging in a frame. It all might have been there, but I just didn't remember seeing it and looking at it. Then, gazing around the room, I didn't feel like nothing, like no emotions, until I tried to open the door. It wouldn't budge. I tried again. The knob turned, but the door wouldn't come loose. I knocked lightly, trying not to panic, but of course Mr. Charles couldn't hear me. He was probably deep into his cowboy flick, and he was on the other side of the store, and on top of all of that, he was practically deaf. So I banged. Still nothing. Then I started tripping, like when you're at the swimming pool on the hottest day of the summer and you jump in and it's cool, and then you take one step too far and suddenly you're in the deep end and things ain't so cool no more because you can't swim. That's how I felt. Like I was drowning, like I was filling up with water, like this place, this weird little room that saved my life, now felt like it was going to take it. I looked at the corner again. my mind boomeranging back to me and my mom, crouching and crying, wondering if my dad would corner us. My heart began to hammer, just like it did back then. The clock on the wall suddenly seemed to tick louder. I turned back around and beat on the door again, tried to beat a hole through it, balled my hand into a fist and pounded and pounded and pounded, yelling Mr. Charles's name until at last, after what seemed like forever, I could hear him on the other side of the door. "Castle, I'm here!" His voice came through, muffled. Mr. Charles yanked it a few times, each time letting out a weird grunt until finally the door swung open. He stumbled back into the chip display before finally catching his balance. I shot out of the room. "Stupid thing gets stuck," he tried explaining, but I couldn't wait around to hear about it. One more minute and I would melt in the aisle between the chips and sodas. So I grabbed my backpack and ran straight for the door.